since we're not as active as we once were, I'll give you the honest answer because
Normally you wouldn't.
Because naturally, that is a popular question in any interview with any band. Where'd the name come from? And to keep things fun, we wouldn't always give an honest answer, or honest to say that like we would just change the answer, or there were different reasons for it. So not completely dishonest, just we each had our own version of it. But the real honest to goodness one, the fake ones we've put out there are just other things. You know, we're big Simpsons fans, which is true. We're the Simpsons, and there's an episode where they're all dancing around that you don't make friends with salads. Don't make friends. We got it from that. No, we didn't. Or you know, we're a mix of genres, like a salad of mix of vegetables. It works. Again, it depended on who was asking us, whether it was an all ages friendly audience or not. If a little kid was asking us, or you know, we would give the Simpsons answer or the salad answer, or whatever. Or if it was, you know, you needed to just answer quickly, one of those. But
you're so considerate.
The real honest answer is that when the guys were growing up, they all lived in the same house, crazily enough, with a few other friends that were musicians. When the Salads were kind of first starting, before I joined, they would throw parties. A good friend of ours named Cam Pizak would often be the friend sitting at the door collecting contributions, not of any money or anything, but of small nugs of cannabis, and throw them together into the salad bowl. And at some point of the night, somebody would mix all these different strains of weed that people would contribute into the salad joint and roll a big salad joint. And then there would be a red light or a green light in the basement, and they'd hit it on, and the light would go on, and it was salad time. And during one of those pass the Dutchie to the left-hand side sessions, somebody was, hey, you guys should call this band the Salads. Ta-da!
Thank you for not sharing that with the little kids when they ask. Thank you for having a PG-13 version, or younger, I guess, an all ages version.
Drug-free youth. That's good. We still promote that.
That's awesome. I have a comment sent in here, and we were talking about the ska bands that really had an influence and were popular in the mid 90s. So this comes to us from Goldfinger member. This is Darren Pfeiffer, who actually played for the Salads as well, right? The drummer at some point.
Yes, indeed. A long period of time. I would say 7 years, and still we consider the band a 5-piece now. And when there's a reunion, it will be a 5-piece. If lots of ifs and whens, but that's sidetracking. Sorry.
Awesome.
Pfeiffer is my brother.
So I asked Darren, what is it that you love about this Darren as a musician and as a person? He put, Darren Mr. D. Dumas is one of my best friends and one of the sweetest souls you'll ever meet. One of those guys that always has a smile and a positive thing to say. And at times I really needed that energy. I miss him and look forward to reconnecting with him again ASAP. So it's Darren Pfeiffer from Goldfinger as well as the Salads. How does that make you feel on a Sunday morning?
Oh, warm and fuzzy. And what's crazy is, as awesome as that is to hear, I can't say I'm surprised, because I'm not trying to sound pompous about it or anything. I'm just saying that my relationship with Pfeiffer is so close, and the way I think we've all, as far as the Salads go, have been and built a relationship with him has been so close. We're all honest with each other. We've always told each other how much we love each other. That's something that I'll continue to do, and I'm proud of. And the love has been very obvious, and it's always been very present. Pfeiffer and I were the first in the band to click. I remember he had moved to Toronto because he had married a lady in Toronto. He was at a show on Queen Street. The Scatolites from Jamaica, like original ska band, were playing in Toronto, and he was in the crowd. And our manager's office was right across the street at the time, and our manager was there at the show too. And I'm like, yo, put down that drink, go grab some CDs across the street. He's like, do I have to? I'm like, get your fucking go get some CDs right now.
Do you know who this is?
Yeah, I'm like, I want to give Darren Pfeiffer from Goldfingers here. I want to give him a CD. He's okay, fine. Gets his ass finally back over, and I met Darren and just fanboyed him a CD, and a few days later got an email or phone call, and he got in touch with us that he wanted to connect with us and work with us, or just say hey. He came to some rehearsals. I think at that time we were also starting to work on Big Picture, and then he co-wrote the tune "It's All Right" on Big Picture with us, and was there for the creation of it all. He was there for after that record was written, Grant sort of was having a disinterest in just the industry itself. We were all still brothers and stuff,
but
tough
just industry.
It was just beating him down, and he needed to just have a regular job. And so he stepped out from that. Pfeiffer filled in on a couple shows, but we ultimately needed a more permanent guy. He sat in with us on auditions that we had for a few days with dozens of other guys. The very last guy of the last day was Legs, Ryan Leger, who played with Every Time I Die, Norma Jean, ton of other bands after playing with us for I don't know, maybe about a year or so. And then we were writing more, and he wanted to be gigging more, and they invited him out. And when they did, Pfeiffer jumped into that seat, and he was there the whole time, but naturally became our more permanent drummer. And then he, of course, is the drummer on our last record that we've released, the Music Every Day. And Pfeiffer and I, man, even all through that time, Pfeiffer and I had a radio show together called the Darren and Darren Show. It was on Punk Radio Cast and a few other stations, just online stuff. And that show was really just a recording of what we would naturally do. He was and is running his High 4 Records. So was getting music from a lot of other artists, finding new things, wanting to sign things, seeing other bands live, digging out old stuff that's been influencing him while I was doing the same. And then we'd meet once every couple of weeks with a stack of music and literally, hey, check this song out. What do you think? And be straight up honest. But in a radio show format, like, that sucked. Or that was really awesome. But while we have a lot of similar musical influences, we've got a lot. I think like Pfeiffer likes hip hop, but my knowledge of hip hop, I would say, is deeper than his. I like some more somber, darker stuff sometimes, but Pfeiffer knows way more about, the Smiths and The Cure and Morrissey and all that kind of stuff that isn't fully my bag. But we had a lot of common ground, and brother from another mother that I'll love to the day I die. I love that guy.
One thing that was super apparent when listening to the discography for the Salads is, even though you guys are, you're labeled ska or ska rock or whatever, man, I'm hearing funk, ska, rock, jazz, metal, like I'm hearing like 15 genres. So how are you guys able to take all those genres and make a sound that is identifiable as the Salad? So it's a unique sound. It's hard to have a unique sound as a band these days. How could you possibly take all those influences and make it work and make it the Salads?
Yeah, it's tough. Really tough and really crazy. I think some of our best work, like, I could put money on the fact you've heard this 1,001 times before. Some of our best stuff came together really quick. Get Loose is probably one of the fastest songs we ever pulled together, minus the tempo change in studio that I just had to roll with and sing faster. Um, but yeah, we again we drew from a lot of bands that had a lot of influences, a la Fishbone and Chili Peppers and that kind of stuff. Um, and then our other separate influences from being different in age and growing up in different areas, also putting a shine on things and creating what is our sound, but then also the common understanding, and that this common understanding also being pounded into our heads. And I'm sure every other artist around that time, and maybe even still, that, stick to what works, do the pop structure, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus. There's structures, there's, keep it under 3 minutes, all that kind of stuff. So those parameters being pounded into our heads as well too, and brought constantly to our attention, helped us keep things not too crazy, and easy for someone to put some kind of label on it, which is always some needed somewhere, be it in the physical record store, which section does it go in, be it pitched to a radio station, what is it rock radio or is this urban, what station is it just college radio, what stations do we pitch to play this kind of stuff? I don't know. While that was in our heads, we didn't let it really overpower us, for better or for worse. Again, coming from that same kind of school and understanding that you can't take in too much of what everybody else is telling you to do. You've got to just do what feels good, because if you're not having fun with it, that's what don't bother. So that's just the first and foremost. Have fun with it. And as soon as people forget that stuff, that's when it gets stale and boring and all that kind of jazz. And then, and you start to sound like everything else that's trying to sound like everything else and trying to fit in genres and pockets. So that's a fine line to ride, though. It's a good question.
Some of those songs were surprisingly heavy, like coming from a background where I was more familiar with, some of the more pop and catchy numbers that you guys have. There was a lot of heavy songs, like remarkably heavy, that I like. I love heavy music, so I was totally digging it, but was caught off guard, caught by surprise. But it was still the Salads. It still worked. It was still awesome. Who would you say is the heaviest band that you've played with live? Because with all the different sounds and influences, I mean, you could open for Fishbone, but you could also open for a really heavy band. I'm just curious. And I guess another question is, was it easier to get booked on shows because you could kind of fit in with, you could play a little heavier if you need to this set, you could play a little more ska if you need to that set?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and because of our amalgamation of genres, we could lean towards a bill, right, of what other bands were doing on that bill and try and fit in a little bit more. Yeah, definitely leaning on the heavier side if it suited the crowd, or poppier side, or if it's an all ages crowd, lean on the goofiness and the poppier sort of things. Whatever, a bit more serious if it's a 19 plus, whatever the case. But heaviest bands we played with, Fishbone always comes to mind. But like, I'm looking at a wall of gig posters that I have in front of me as well too, and trying to see if I could pick some stuff up off of it. There's a heavy band out of Montreal that we played with a number of times called Grim Skunk.
Okay, that's who Chuck thought you were probably playing with.
Oh yeah.
When I saw Radiohead in Montreal, this was around the Hail to the Thief album, which I think is like 2003-ish.
Yep.
So
we've done a bunch of stuff with Baptized in Blood, like I mentioned. They're buddies of ours. Super heavy. Goldfinger we played with. We did a Wakestock festival with Dead Kennedys and Goldfinger. That's leaning on the more of the punk side of things. We also did a really great show. Oh my God, 11 years ago at the Hard Luck Bar where I pulled together this great heavy bill reuniting Regadeath, fronted by Mishi Me, who are all friends of ours, but would rarely play, but brought them together with us. Sumo Psycho, who are really close friends of ours. We played with them a lot too. They're fucking heavy and have just gotten a lot. I mean, a lot heavier over the years.
Mishi Me is kind of hip hop, isn't it?
Absolutely. Mishi Me is the queen of Canadian hip hop.
Yeah, there's some stuff, some early Drake stuff that has Mishi Me involved in it, I believe.
Yeah, Mishi and Maestro, the queen and the king of Canadian hip hop, and anybody who is coming up like Drake would definitely pay tribute to them and have to acknowledge their position. But Mishi had a heavy dancehall metal group called Regadeath, with some of the guys in Monster Voodoo Machine and a few other bands. And that was heavy. They had some big singles and stuff, but then stopped. She did more solo stuff for a while. They went on to do other things. And but crazy band. And with us, Regadeath and Sumo, that was an awesome bill. Heavy, awesome bill. I love heavy bands in like a small venue like Hard Luck. That's fun. Love that.
So I saw Protest the Hero in a venue with like 48 people. It was like the smallest venue of all time before they were
that
big.
Great. We've played with them as well too. Like again, before they were big, we've done some wake stocks with them before.
They helped me boost my car after the show. So
I remember hanging out backstage
with them.
I remember hanging out backstage with most of the band. I feel like it was their guitar player with longer hair. I've not followed the band since really too much, but have seen that their success and whatnot. But what stands out, I remember him telling me that his girlfriend was a big fan, and she had a I don't know how this happened. She has a poster of me on her bedroom wall that he kept seeing all the time. And I'm like, a poster? We never put posters.
I was just going to say it gets awkward because she literally just took your picture and blew it up.
She would have made a poster or something. Anyways. Yeah. Funny, flattering.
Nice you know guys. How you have in your relationship, you're allowed the one celebrity that you're allowed to hook up with if ever they come to town and it's allowed. I feel like you're that guy for the guy's girlfriend, which is weird. Anyways, totally awkward, maybe right? We'll change the subject before he sees this. Maybe he'll be a guest in the future. Yeah. Speaking of the live stuff, there's a question that one of my friends wanted to know about the Salads, about the live show. So you guys had a break dancer, you had Libido on stage. My understanding is his job was to act like a hype man and to raise the energy levels. Is that an accurate description? And what did he bring to the live show that made you guys unique or help make you guys unique?
Absolutely. That's exactly what Libido did. Libido being his nickname.
Libido, not libido.
Yeah. No, it looks like libido as he spells it. But pronounces it libido, and but his real name is Darren, which we found out.
There's way too many Darrens in the music industry. So learning. And they're all spelled differently.
Yeah, exactly. There aren't that many out there, but for some reason, 3 of them seem to find their way into the Salads during our history. But Libido, as he's more fondly known by, is one of the best b-boys in Toronto still to this day. I mean, it goes down in history. You ask anybody that's in that scene in Canada, in Toronto, they'll mention him, and just you could recognize Libido's silhouette dancing, that he's just so unique and has such staple moves of his own. He's a teacher as well now in Toronto, and is just a character like no other, and we love the guy to death. So he came into the band because one thing that helped sort of kick the Salads popularity off when we were in Toronto and I was working at HMV, making all these connections with different people, again, in different genres of music. I wanted to start putting shows together with this hip hop act and that metal band and this reggae band and this breakdance crew and the Salads. And no promoters wanted to mess with that kind of stuff. They wanted just a rock show or a ska show or hip hop show and keep it straight. And I'm like, let's just try this. I want to do this. And then we're going to do it under the wing of Salad Gold. I did uh, over a decade or so, I did a ton of Salad Gold shows, which were just that. It was just a variety party of a bunch of different acts that were polar opposites from each other. And a breakdancing crew was always thrown on the bill to just be there to dance. So always somebody in the crowd being like, I've never seen a breakdancer dance to a rock, a metal band or a reggae band or whatever. It was a beautiful audio and visual representation of, again, the multiculturalism in Toronto, mashing all the genres of music and backgrounds together, and it worked. And it became so successful and so big. And one show in particular, Libido's crew, Back to Basics, were put on a bill. The rest of his guys didn't show up for some reason. And by the time we were on stage, we were just like, you come up here with us. So he did the whole show with us. We loved it. He loved it. The audience loved it. We kind of kept with it. And we're like, okay, you be part of the band. You get paid like we do on shows as an equal member of the band. And it made sense to us, again, thanks to these guys that were the only other band that we knew that had a dancer on stage as part of the band. The Boss Tone was the dude that just came out and danced in the Boss Tones for their entire existence. He came out and skanked his face off in a pinstripe suit from start to finish, sweating an equal amount as the rest of the band. And that's exactly what Libido did. Libido made up his own dance move, danced his face off to all the genres of everything that was going on. And again, fed off the crowd with me, and the crowd fed off of him. And it was just another angle of the show. And Libido was with us, I would say, for a good 5-ish years or so. And then by the time we were writing and working on Big Picture, the follow-up to Full Day to Be, our peers like Billy Talent and Flashlight Brown were all swaying away from their funky ska roots, and we're starting to rock out more. The 3 Days Grace stuff was popping on the radio. That was the sound of what was coming out. So the two things everybody was telling us to do: write a whole record of Get Looses and rock out more. But more so the first, just it was successful. Write a whole record of Get Loose is next, because that's what's going to work. We have not always been the best band to listen to everybody telling us what to do, and would often go in the other direction. And again, seeing our peers doing more rock, we decided to just do more of a rock record. And that's what came out of Big Picture. It was a little bit, and plus also there was a lot more serious stuff happening in our lives, families, marriage, getting married, having kids. Chuck just started to have babies. And again, Grant was feeling stressed about the whole industry. The industry was weighing on us more than it had ever been. So we wrote a bit more of a serious record. Content wise, I was writing a bit more serious songs. It was almost like self-therapy kind of thing, self-healing songs. Is at the same time, if this works for me and I can lift somebody else up with these songs, that's what we're here for. That's what we do. That's what we want to be doing. So that became that record. And in that, we decided not to tour with Libido, also because it was going to be a bit more affordable on us. Traveling with 4 guys instead of 5 guys means 2 rooms at a hotel instead of 3 rooms. All that kind of stuff. It was just a more even number to travel with the 4 of us. And Libido was also doing more dance stuff in Toronto. It just sort of made sense. But what a great time. And even so I think Libido popped up on maybe 1 or 2 shows for like a song since then, other than the very last show that we've ever played, which was in 2016 in Bayfield, Ontario, opening for David Wilcox. Somehow Libido, just before that, got back in touch with us and was like, we need to do this again. I need to come back in the band, and we need to full force. Little did he know we were kind of unspokenly winding down a tiny little bit at that time. And we're nowhere near the, it's our time, we need to get back at it vibe as libido. But he came to that show with us and we rocked that show. So awesome with him. Actually, this that was that day.
That's awesome. And David Wilcox is actually on a song from the first album, Memories. Is that the connection that got you that show that day? And
No,
Brian Byrne, I don't know, is that before he's on the same song from the first album? Is Brian Byrne, is that pre I Mother Earth as well?
No, that was while he was still in I Mother Earth.
Okay.
But he was also doing a solo thing. We had same management as Brian, and Chuck was starting to play with I Mother Earth. His part, so Wilcox and Brian are both on the same song on our music.
Wilcox is like talking almost, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he was on a sabbatical from playing guitar. So as he does, he kind of will stop. He won't even pick up a guitar for a year or two. Whoa. And then and then come back to it to just feel that passion again. That's what works for him. So during that time, we want whatever kind of contribution you can give us to this record. Awesome. He's like, well, I'm not playing guitar right now. Okay. Not really singing. I'm not really practicing that so much. He was just living life without those things, taking a break from them. But Jack, do you want to speak? Can you do some spoken stuff on it? And he actually, his spoken bits are stuff that I wrote, in addition to my lyrics, as well as some of the lyrics he's quoting, and then a little bit of his own thing, as he always puts his own spin on stuff. So that's how and why we got that out of him on that track. Brian's part, the reason why I remember Chuck was in I Mother Earth at that time is because Chuck recorded Brian's part for that song immediately after a show. Like after he stepped off stage and stepped backstage, their backstage or a part of the backstage happened to be another venue space where Chuck just set up a laptop and mic on the stage. And while Brian was drained and exhausted and totally worn out and just screamed his lungs out, walk right into this microphone and scream random stuff. I think he had a few lines to go off of, but the rest is sort of freestyled. And we wanted that screaming Brian version because he can scream. And to get a scream out of somebody after they've been screaming for an hour already is extra special and extra emotional, and just you really get that thing. It reminds me of like I don't know, you're a heavy metal fan, so you must be familiar with Lamb of God.
They're on the bill for the Megadeth show I'm going to see.
There you go. Exactly. I saw some footage of them recording once, and their lead singer just couldn't get a vocal take right, and they made him run around the studio building a few times and then come right back in, press record when he's worn out and burnt from just running at top speed around the building, and got the best screams out of him. I think for that kind of a singer, you just get a different, for any kind of singing, you get a different voice from being well rested and clean and speaking or singing at a speaking tone or whatever. But to run around and wear yourself out and then come in and give that energetic thing, it's just an extra bit of something else. So that's how we got that from Brian on that tune.